Hi, welcome to Audiobook Academy. This is a self-paced audiobook. There's no need to keep an eye on things. Just pay attention. Thank you for taking the time to listen. This is a book summary of Thrive by Arianna Huffington. When you think of success, what comes to mind? Thrive investigates the true cost of achieving high levels of success. We learned from Arianna Huffington's first-person account of stress, burnout, and exhaustion that these are all common features of contemporary working life through her own experiences. Thrive redefines success and shifts the emphasis away from material gain and toward well-being, wisdom, wonder, and giving. No doubt, in Huffington's call to redefine success, money and power are still important metrics, they just require a third one to bring the equation into proper proportion. For some, success and making it are synonymous with obtaining the corner office or earning a higher salary. In which case, financial and political success may be synonymous with one another. However, according to Arianna Huffington, this Western narrative is problematic because it may not be consistent with our fundamental values. Eventually, Huffington received a wake-up call that made her realize that money and power, while effective in the short term, are not sustainable over the long term. In 2007, she awoke to find herself lying in a pool of blood on the floor of her home office. Because of her exhaustion, she had lost her balance, and as she fell, she struck the corner of her desk, cutting her eye and shattering her cheekbone. As a result of the accident, she went from doctor to doctor, trying to determine whether she had an underlying medical problem. There were no medical issues discovered, but it appeared that there was one major problem. Everything she was going through pointed to stress as the source of her problems. Huffington was putting in 18 hours per day, 7 days a week, which was detrimental to her health and well-being. She realized that, despite the fact that she was a highly successful businesswoman, this was of little consequence if she wasn't there to enjoy the fruits of her labor. This succinct summary of Thrive provides us with some insight into one of Time magazine's most influential individuals. She is an expert on having found success as a renowned blogger and co-founder of the Huffington Post, as well as an established author and CEO. However, she takes us on a quest to redefine success in her book, The Art of Redefining Success. In a significant way, Huffington poses the question, what if we can simultaneously do well, and even more importantly, be in good health? She believes that in order to truly thrive in both our professional and personal lives, we must broaden our definition of success to include 4 additional benchmarks, or pillars, as she refers to them. This group of 4 pillars is comprised of 4 concepts: well-being, wisdom, wonder, and giving. It is, however, more than a call to reduce stress and rethink what it means to be successful. Huffington gets personal and down to business. In addition to the wake-up call that prompted her to reconsider what it truly means to be successful, she is passionate about the science and strategies on which she relies, and believes can assist individuals and businesses in achieving their goals. A new blueprint for success has been developed. When it comes to Western work culture, stress and sleep deprivation are 2 factors that contribute to it. Nowadays, exhaustion is regarded as a badge of honor, but it comes at a significant cost. How many of you are aware that more than 22 million people in the United States use illegal drugs to cope with stressful situations, that nearly 9 million people require sleeping aids to fall asleep, and that the percentage of adults who use prescription drugs has increased 400% since 1988? The occurrence of problems such as burnout, stress, and depression has spread throughout the world, with women bearing the brunt of the burden, which is surprising. When compared to their less stressed female counterparts, nearly 40% of women have an increased risk of heart disease and heart attacks. Furthermore, women who work in high-stress environments are more likely to be alcoholics than women who work in low-stress environments. According to current trends, many women leave their high-powered jobs and careers as soon as they are able to do so financially. The first pillar is a sense of well-being. It is past time to place the well-being of our employees at the forefront of our business practices. Employee health is inextricably linked to the bottom line of a company. According to studies, employers in the United States spend approximately 200 to 300% more on indirect healthcare costs than they do on direct healthcare costs. As opposed to actual healthcare payments, these costs are incurred through absenteeism, sick days, and lower productivity, rather than through actual healthcare payments. It is becoming increasingly obvious that businesses must place a high priority on employee wellness. Flexibility in working hours, on-site exercise facilities, healthy food, and even nap stations are all things that companies should do to ensure that their employees' well-being is a top priority. The reality is that most businesses have adopted a culture in which sleep is viewed as a weakness. Sleep, on the other hand, should be promoted as an absolute necessity for both wellness and productivity in a good company. Huffington takes wellness a step further by holding many of his staff meetings while hiking in the mountains. The reasoning behind this is that spending time in nature allows us to transition from focused mode thinking to a more open-minded, creative state of mind. She claims that this is the time of year when they come up with their most innovative ideas. Additionally, there are many different ways that we can improve our own personal well-being on an individual level. Thrive delves into the benefits of meditation, exercise, and spending quality time with family, friends, and even our pets in order to improve our overall well-being. However, most of us are aware of what our minds and bodies require when it comes to self-care. The challenge is actually putting these ideas into action. In the words of Marie Osberg, a professor at the Karolinska Institute in Stockholm, burnout is the exhaustion funnel that we fall into when we give up on things that we don't consider to be important. Professor Mark Williams goes one step further, stating that we frequently forego the things that nourish us because they appear to be optional. It is for these reasons that it is critical to regard activities that promote our well-being as necessities rather than as luxuries in our lives. If you take away only one thing from this book, it should be that sleep is a necessity, not a luxury to be indulged in. Sleep is the one keystone habit that Huffington adheres to religiously. When we redefine success, we must also redefine our relationship with sleep, which is something that we all must do. Sleep is underappreciated, and failing to get enough of it can be extremely harmful to our health. Bill Clinton, the former president of the United States, used to get by on only 5 hours of sleep per night, and he admits that every serious mistake he made throughout his life was caused by being too tired to think clearly. It is critical that we get 7 to 8 hours of sleep every night, but for some, this is more difficult to achieve than it appears. Fortunately, researchers have discovered that taking short naps during the day can help us reroute our energies more effectively. Famous nappers include Leonardo da Vinci, Thomas Edison, Eleanor Roosevelt, and Winston Churchill, to name a few names. Short power naps, according to research, prime the brain to function at a high level, and they also help us perform better, find solutions to problems, and recall information with greater accuracy. In other words, if you want to perform at your peak, it's quite simple. You can literally sleep or nap your way to the top of your game. The second pillar is wisdom. It is the most important of the three. Wisdom is defined as the ability to learn from one's mistakes and to trust one's own instincts and feelings. Everyone and everything that occurs in our lives, whether it is positive or negative, serves as a classroom instructor. What really matters is how we learn from our mistakes and how well we are able to connect with our intuitive side. As a result, wisdom is the ability to move from a place of struggle to a place of grace, regardless of the difficulties we encounter along the way. This effort to regain our composure should be something that we commit to and put into practice on a daily basis. However, there are some roadblocks that prevent this inward journey from taking place. The obstacles include things like hurry sickness, the iPhone paradox, and having an obnoxious roommate in our heads, among other things. First and foremost, let us address the epidemic of hurry sickness. We are all familiar with the term famine in the context of a food shortage, but are you familiar with the concept of time famine? Professor Leslie Perlow coined the term time famine, in which he argues that in our quest to save time, we cram in as much as we possibly can, and fear any seconds that are left over. We download productivity apps and look for the latest time-saving hack, but we still end up feeling rushed and time-deprived, despite all of our efforts. This is a feeling that we carry around with us all of the time, and it is one of the most common causes of stress and anxiety. When we're preoccupied with the passage of time, or the lack thereof, it's nearly impossible to access our inner wisdom and peace. Another central message of Thrive is that we all need to take it easy from time to time. Carl Honoré's aha moment, which occurred when he realized he needed to slow down the pace of his life, inspired him to write his book, In Praise of Slowness. It's a story that may be able to assist us in shifting our hurried mindsets. While waiting in line, Honoré was on his phone, and in order to make the most of his time, he began skimming through the newspaper. His attention was drawn to the headline, The 1-Minute Bedtime Story. He read an article about children's books that were condensed into 60 seconds, and because he has a 2-year-old at home, he thought that this would be a great time saver for everyone. While making a mental note to remember this, he suddenly had the thought, have I gone completely insane? It was at this precise moment that he became aware of his inner feeling of time famine, and it helped him realize that his pursuit of time-saving hacks was having a negative impact on the way he was living and relating to others. As a result, while speed can be enjoyable, productive, and powerful, we all need to learn to slow down a little more often. The key is to maintain a sense of balance. Everything must be completed at the appropriate speed. Sometimes this means quickly, sometimes slowly, and sometimes somewhere in between. It's critical to take the time to slow down when the opportunity presents itself. The problem is that our precious in-between moments are frequently hijacked by our electronic gadgets. As a result of our hyperconnectedness, overstimulated state, and constant barrage of information, we have created a digital dilemma for ourselves. And this is frequently allowed to happen unhindered. So, while social media can help us feel more connected, it can also be an obsessive distraction. According to David Brooks, ours is a generation that is bloated with information and starved for wisdom. Information does not equal knowledge and knowledge does not equal wisdom. Furthermore, our increased reliance on technology makes it more difficult to gain a more in-depth understanding of the world and to connect with our deep intuitive feelings. Not only does the iPhone paradox, in which your devices prevent us from tapping into insights and intuitions, play a role, but there's also the unfriendly voice in our heads to contend with. Meet your inner critic, also known as your obnoxious roommate. When we compare ourselves to others, it's easy to feel as if we're not living up to our expectations or potential. Very often, we feel bad about ourselves because we believe we don't measure up to the societal message of what success and having it all looks like. That's why it's so important to refocus and reconnect to an authentic sense of what it means to live meaningful and fulfilling lives in order to feel better. Wisdom of this nature assists us in distinguishing between our everyday concerns and preoccupations and what is truly important. The cornerstone of wisdom is the letting go of habits and mindsets that no longer serve us. In short, let go of what no longer serves you and hold on tightly to what is most important to you in life. The third pillar is inspiring. Because of her busy schedule, the family built a memorial bench for her and had it engraved with the phrase "Don't miss the moment." This is a timeless lesson that we often forget because of our hectic schedules. Is there a recent instance in which you took the time to truly and completely appreciate a moment? Sometimes we aren't present enough to fully appreciate the wonders around us, and we have fallen into the trap of photographing moments rather than experiencing them. We look down at our devices rather than into the eyes of our loved ones, and constantly documenting our lives comes at a cost, and the cost is that we miss out on experiencing the wonder of the moment. Being in the moment, in sync with the flow of life, and seeing things from a different perspective are all benefits of wonder. Being in nature, and appreciating art in all its forms, are two powerful sources of wonder. In addition to providing us with a sense of wonder and purpose, the element of serendipity can also help us feel more connected to ourselves, one another, and the universe. A man named Paul Gratian was buying a sandwich, and when he pulled out the money to pay for it, he noticed that the name, Esther, was written on the note. He smiled because his girlfriend's name was Esther, and so he later framed the bill and gave it to her as a gift. The fourth pillar is the act of giving. Well-being, wonder, and wisdom are all important pillars in the process of redefining success and thriving, but they are incomplete without the fourth, which is the act of giving, to which they contribute. The act of giving entails showing empathy and compassion for others while also stepping out of our comfort zones to assist and serve them. This should not only be done in times of crisis, but should be done in countless ways throughout our daily lives. Did you know that 2,000 children under the age of 5 die every day from diseases that could have been prevented if they had received proper medical care? Diana Nyad, a long-distance swimmer, tells the story of a man who lived on her street who had lost his wife and was struggling to make ends meet in order to care for his children. Diana's neighbor, who already worked 2 jobs, organized everyone in the neighborhood to come to his aid. They were all asked to deliver dinner to the man and his children on specific days, and that if they couldn't, they needed to make alternate arrangements because the man and his children were in danger of starving. People who volunteer their time are more successful than those who do not. The challenge is for families and businesses to make giving the norm, and volunteering should come naturally to all of us. The idea is that all of this giving, in turn, benefits us. Giving is one of the major pillars that helps us to thrive, both at work and from a health standpoint. It turns out that nice guys don't actually finish last. So, if you want to live a longer, healthier, and happier life, you must put others first and give generously. Finally, I'd like to say, we're living in a society where sleep deprivation and burnout are the norm, and the things that allow us to recharge have been put on the back burner. When it comes to how we perceive success, our labor isn't producing results. The traditional model of success is flawed, and it's causing us to be unhappy, stressed, and anxious. As a new definition of success emerges, we must do everything we can to safeguard the future of our human capital, which does not necessarily mean giving up on power and money, but rather by incorporating notions of well-being, wisdom, wonder, and giving into our daily routines. Thank you for listening in Audiobook Academy. Please don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. See you in next audiobook.